Peace, people. Welcome to Yemima's World, the Jelly Moose's Cafe. I am your hostess, Yemima, and it is always good to be black in the land of the living once again. So, this is the second of my short stories of encounters with ancestors, encounters with spirits, whatever you want to call them. So, these are two short stories that I'm going to tell today, and these actually happened to me. So the first one happened a few years ago. It's about maybe 8 years ago, maybe a little bit longer, 7 or 8 years ago. And I was doing a performance at a library in Richmond, Virginia. And I was presenting the Gabriel story, which is, if you don't know who Gabriel is, look up Gabriel Prosser, although he did not go by that name, but look up Gabriel Prosser. And I was telling his story for a group of kids. And so after I did the presentation, I went to the bathroom to change clothes, to change out of my costume that I was wearing into my regular clothes. And so when I walked in the bathroom, a lady was walking out. And so I went in and I went into the stall to change my clothes. And so the other two stall doors were open. So there was nobody in the bathroom except for myself. So I changed my clothes and I went over to the sink to wash my hands. And I heard a noise in one of the stalls. And I'm like, well, nobody came in while I was in the stall. And, I didn't hear anybody come in the bathroom. So I proceeded to look in the stalls and I looked in the one that I was in and the other two. And nobody was in there. And I'm like, I know I heard a noise in the stall. And while I'm looking in the stall, the water at the sink comes on. It was one of those ones where it was sensor. So once you put your hands underneath it, the water would come on. And I was on the other side of the bathroom, so I was nowhere near for the water to come on. But all of a sudden, the water came on. And so I came out of the stall and I looked, and it stayed on for a few minutes as if someone was standing there, washing their hands. So then it went off, and um, the door didn't open, but it made a noise. The door that come into the bathroom, it made a noise, and so that was my encounter with a spirit. And I tend to believe that maybe it was Gabriel's wife because I was portraying her. And before I do any presentation, I always meditate. I read a story about the person. I meditate on their lives. I try to ask them what they want to be told in the story. What about their lives they want people to know? So I do all of that before I do a presentation. And so I like to think that it was Nan, who was Gabriel's wife, uh, just letting me know that I had done a good job in telling hers and Gabriel's story. The second time I had that to happen to me after a presentation, I was presenting at, oh God, what was George Mason? George Mason's plantation in Northern Virginia. And I was presenting one of my signature presentations, which is the Martha Ann Field story. And once again, I always make sure that I inquire of the ancestors what part of their stories do they want to be told that day, meditate, all of that good stuff. So I presented, and it was a Juneteenth um, celebration, if you can believe that. But I did the presentation, and my niece came with me. So after the presentation, I'm gathering my things, and everybody had gone out. They had left the building where she and I were in, where I did the presentation. And so we're getting my things together, and we hear someone walking upstairs, and they're just walking across the floor, and it sounded like they were moving furniture. So I'm like, well, the lady that's going to lock up is probably upstairs. So my niece and I look at each other, and it just sounded like they were moving like heavy furniture across the floor. So we go outside, and the lady who had me to present, she was standing outside waiting for us to come out. And I was like, so I said, I guess the lady's inside to lock up the building. She said, no, I'm getting ready to do that. I said, so you don't have anybody inside? And she was like, no, nobody's in there. I was waiting for you and your niece to come out so I could lock the building up. So I asked her, I said, "Were you upstairs?" She said, no, I've been standing out here the entire time. And I was like, okay. So my niece and I looked at each other like, well, definitely it was somebody upstairs moving furniture across the building. So again, I took it as a sign from Martha Anfields that I had done a good job at presenting her story. And so those were my two encounters, or two of my encounters with spirit and ancestors. So until next time, you know the drill. Love yourself, love each other, give yourself some grace, give each other grace. Stay healthy, stay cool, stay black. Most of all, honor your ancestors and they will honor you. Until next time, peace.